Occasionally you can see it dissipate as it continues to track with its parent storm, and then occasionally you can see another touchdown. So we by no means are going to be sleeping on this storm. However, it does look like when I was looking at the correlation coefficient, the debris signature is not nearly as defined as it was. If we look at shear, it's still present, but it's not as tight of a couplet. This, for example, shows us the shear tracks as this storm went on the south side of Lawton, south of Matawan, where it became a confirmed tornado, into the Portage area and across I-94. Now, currently, it's weakened just a touch, as Sarah just mentioned. So that's an incredibly accurate depiction of what's happening now. But if you live in Galesburg, Augusta, Bedford, you still want to take cover because the winds aloft and the winds at the surface are still conducive for spin. This is one of those setup days where you don't necessarily need a ton of surface support to see large tornadoes. My goodness, you can see this line of tornado warnings extending down into Coldwater, and we even have a new fresh tornado just south of Jamestown.
Yeah, can I do a
Indiana.
quick reset? Ellen, do you mind?
Absolutely,
I have everything
go.
pulled up. There's just so much going on. So here's a wide view. You're looking at a severe thunderstorm warning up in Muskegon and Oceana County. That's for winds to 60 miles per hour. Also some storms developing just to the west of Holland that we're going to have to keep a close eye on. Severe thunderstorm warning in Benton Harbor. But this is the complex of tornadic storms. So I'm going to circle them one by one. Confirmed large tornado, at least as of a few minutes ago, located just to the northeast of Portage. We have a large and extremely dangerous tornado on the ground near Union City, a tornado emergency in effect that's tracking toward Teconcha. We have a tornado warning in effect for a potential tornado moving toward the city of Coldwater, and we have a new tornado warning that has been issued for Southern Branch County that's going to be tracking over toward Hillsdale. So we have 4 potentially tornadic storms, with one that is certainly doing substantial damage just on the doorstep of Teconcha here within the next few minutes. We're just getting some potential information from our assignment desk downstairs as well. Potential building collapse in Portage, which would suggest what we've been seeing on the radar of a tornado touchdown.
Thank you for that reset. It's incredibly helpful. I think we also need to remember that we're not done yet with this time frame where showers and storms can form. We have fresh storms that are forming in Berrien County, one south of Benton Harbor. And because of the way that the parent wind is traveling, it likely is going to be tracking over some of these same areas. So hail, wind, all a threat. This particular cell is one that we'll be watching. It's going to head towards Sodus, Keeler, Hartford. And we still have a lot of warnings that are active and on the ground, a lot of lightning too. That's one clear way that we can just glance at a situation and see how healthy a storm is. Unfortunately, the more lightning, the more powerful the storm likely is, and the more likely it is that it's going to continue to survive at least for the next 5 to 10 minutes. Teconcha, Burlington, Homer, you absolutely need to get into your safe spot now. Switching gears and looking at the wind inside the storm, we're still seeing some pretty powerful numbers here coming in aloft. And if I sample here, switching and sampling with a different radar, we're getting similar values. I mean, wind speeds coming in close to about 85 to even almost 100 miles per hour over Teconcha. And we have a history of these tornadoes touching down and staying down at times. So Teconcha, absolutely a huge concern. We're also looking for M60 and the intersection of M60 and I-69. It looks like the latest scan south of Teconcha has gotten even more intense. This is for Marshall Road, getting close to where Marshall Road intersects I-69, and then getting ready to roll into East County Line Road. These are occasionally tracking due east, occasionally lifting to the northeast. That's why some of these tornado warnings are so broad. It's because the center of circulation and where a tornado could touch down could absolutely change back and forth, wiggle as it tracks with the parent storm. On the plus side, it looks like the Kalamazoo storm is looking a little bit more dispersed to me.
It's a weaker signature.
Yeah.
We have to be careful because this storm already cycled once.
Yeah.
And what concerns me the most is that if the storm is cycling, Battle Creek could potentially be picking up on some winds here in the next 15, 20 minutes. So thankfully, again, at this time, we do not have, there's no evidence of a tornado on the ground right now near Galesburg, just a rotation up above. But if you're in Battle Creek, now's the time to probably be heading to that tornado spot.
Yeah, I think on days like this, when the wind is moving so quickly, it's always good to see what's happening just upstream of you. So Augusta, Bedford, Battle Creek, even over towards Bellevue and Olivet, just kind of keep in mind that these storms have a history of producing tornadoes on the ground, and they are moving towards you. Latest sample radar indicated speed for the Kalamazoo County tornado is tracking east-northeast at about 38 miles per hour. Right now it looks like with the current track of this, Augusta arrival time 6:30, Battle Creek arrival time right around 6:41. That goes for Bedford as well. We'll continue to put some fresh tracks on that into some of the more populated areas as that moves forward. But it really is getting messier in structure. Again, Plainwell, Prairieville, Hastings, Carlton, just rain for you. And then Muskegon, Dalton, watch for some large hail and some large wind. We might want to watch this cell that's on the north side of Whitehall. Just briefly moving up here into Fruitvale, Rathman, over towards Whitehall Road, I-31, US 31, excuse me. This cell could potentially produce some pretty powerful hail, which is another threat that's ongoing today.
I wonder if now that we're coming up on getting close to 6:30, if Brian and Sue, are you guys hearing of any reports? What are you seeing? We haven't seen the power outage map in a little bit. How is that looking right now?
Sure, that's being updated, of course. We continue to have 22,000 is the latest number without power at this point. We do have crews that are headed that way. They will be giving us updates on some of the damage. We do know that, as we mentioned earlier, a steeple has come off of a church in Centerville. So there's a lot of damage, a lot of trees down, as you can imagine. So we're continuing to gather that information as our crews safely get to that scene and talk with residents and see some of the damage on the ground.
Just getting updated numbers too, Sue, from our producers. 8,000 people without power in Portage, 3,000 without power in Centerville. Those were the two communities that have suffered some of the most damage tonight.
So we continue to watch what's happening there. We're following along with what you're telling us as far as the communities that need to take cover and go to their safe zones so that they too can make sure that they're ahead of this storm as it sweeps across the region there. So back to you guys.
And I appreciate just a quick update. Nice to provide some context as to what all is happening. It's turned into a very busy evening very quickly, and it's nice to catch our breath for just a moment. So I appreciate that, Brian and Sue. Thank you both. We have numerous tornado warnings that remain in effect. Two main areas of circulation that we continue to watch. There it is in motion. If you're in Concha, there's likely a tornado in progress right over you, just to the south side of you. That is moving off to the northeast. At this time, it looks like that might be the only, and it's crazy to even say that, the only tornado that we have on the ground at this moment. There is some circulation we're watching near Coldwater. At this time, we're not getting any debris being picked up on radar yet, and so that's a good sign. If you're in Coldwater or Quincy, there may be a tornado forming, but at this time, we don't have one on the ground. And then the northernmost one is the one we're most concerned about that's now tracking into Concha, right over Concha right now, right over I-69, that'll eventually be heading toward the Homer area here over the next, let's call it 10-15 minutes or so.
Yeah, the problem is we're watching two of those rotating cells move in to the same county, so that's a little bit confusing, having almost two that you're watching there. But like Blake said, it does look like they're a little bit broader than they were initially, even just a few scans ago. So we have that going. Not getting any reports. We've kind of stopped getting a flood of pictures and videos, at least from those two. Yeah. So hopefully that's a good sign that at least upcycled.
One of the things that I'm concerned about too is if we have anybody that's driving on M60. Right. As this storm is rolling over to Concha, I was kind of rewinding just a bit to see storm motion, and it looks like it's moving right over, the strongest velocity is moving right over M60 as it heads towards Clarendon. And in general, this storm motion is tracking a little bit more due east than northeast in the last few scans, which is something we've been watching. Also, just want to double check on what's going on up near Augusta. Any strengthening there? It looks like our shear tracker is picking up on some strong rotation near Range Road on the southeast side of Augusta.
The thing about that is it's tracking almost due east.
Yeah.
And so right towards Springfield and Battle Creek, which is a little concerning.
Let's just put a track on that. Storm motion still about 35, 40.
Yep.
I'm going to
35.
estimate 40. Arrival time for Springfield, goodness, 6:31. Battle Creek, 6:34. So momentarily here. Again, still just waiting to see if this storm can cycle. Right now, reflectivity and velocity showing that it's a bit messier, but as it moves towards M94, Battle Creek, we could start to see a new strengthening. And again, just in general, it's interesting how these storms lift to the northeast and then occasionally with the actual tornado warned portion of the storm, jog due east. So that's why it's good if you're in the warning at all to take cover.
Ellen,
Yeah.
we just got a remarkable hail report out of Union City, 4 inches in diameter.
I don't remember.
In Union City, we're
4-inch
trying to
report.
find, that report just came across from the Weather Service 4 minutes ago. Picture shared on Twitter, hailstone
That's
measuring upward of
softball.
4 inches.
Okay, softball size hail. So we have had softball size hail before in Michigan, but it's definitely a rarity. And that was Union City.
Yeah, actually, yep. I'm going to send the picture to our newsroom here. But yeah, 4-inch hail. So I mean, combined with the rotation, the hail is enough to do very substantial damage.
Not great news for farmers either, especially as many of them are in the fields already. And gosh, folks that were hit by a hail system, was it a year and a half ago?
Yeah.
Still just now recovering in some cases. Wright's Corners could also be seeing some large hail at this moment in time. If we look at hail tracker specifically, we could also be seeing some larger hail up towards Muskegon area. This would be Whitehall, Lakewood Club, lifting up towards Duck Lake and Dalton.
Be honest with you, I don't love the look of those storms forming over parts of Ottawa and Allegan County as well. That area hasn't received any precipitation yet, so I think that the storms that extend from like Port Sheldon Township down to just offshore of South Haven, nothing to be concerned about yet, but they are continuing to develop, and they're developing pretty quickly.
And you can see that with the hail tracker too, if you show that. We'll see what they do when they arrive, but
Hearing from Kalamazoo County Emergency Management, we may have the news department have to check in on this potential hit at the FedEx building at Port Road and Stryker Way. A potential partial building collapse there at the FedEx building. That would likely, I assume that'd be in Portage and Stryker. So we continue to get damage reports in from the Portage area from the tornado that likely passed through there.
Also seeing in our latest scan, the storm that we are watching in Berrien County, south of Coloma, starting to see another intensification. This is on the north side of Sister Lakes. It'll be headed on the north side of Keeler and headed towards Decatur, Paw Paw, Matawan once again. So same area that experienced the tornado warned system just about an hour or so ago. And already starting to see what could potentially be a slight indentation, a slight hook. So we'll be watching that one carefully scan by scan.
Rotation is trying to tighten up as it heads into Battle Creek. I'm not loving the look of it right now.
a little bit better of a debris signature as well.
Yeah,
This would be right over the airport.
rotation couplet just about to move into Springfield. This is a very highly populated area. If you are in Battle Creek, you need to be heading to your tornado safe spot if you're not there already. Sirens have likely been going off for a while. But this thing is going to be tracking almost into downtown Battle Creek, or this area of rotation is. And considering the tornado warning remains in effect, this could drop at any moment. And so it's important to be taking your tornado precautions. If you're in places like Battle Creek, Springfield, the surrounding areas, we may have a tornado developing in that area right now.
I think it's important to note, too, they're still marking that tornado warning as confirmed. They've dropped other ones, so they must have some level of confidence that this either has just briefly lifted or is coming back down to the ground as we speak. So, yeah, it's headed right towards Battle Creek, still at about 35 miles per hour.
35?
Yep.
I'll put a fresh track on it here. If we go to graphics 1, we zoom in on that cell. This is rotation tracker. It just kind of gives a cleaner view as to where the rotation might be. Here's the airport there. Arrival time potentially 6:36, if not sooner. Springfield Place, 6:39. Capitol Avenue Southwest, just on the south side of Battle Creek, 6:40, and then headed towards Main Street around 6:43. Springfield, 6:36. Michigan Avenue on the northwest side of Battle Creek, 6:40, and then Battle Creek itself around 6:42.
The wind that's being picked up here on the east side of the rotation is being measured close to 60 miles per hour. And so even if we don't have a tornado in progress at this point, there's likely strong winds ongoing. And there are indications that this storm may be at least trying to cycle and increase in rotation. So I think this is a pretty concerning situation for the city of Battle Creek here over the next 10 minutes or so.
The storms further north, we got a hail report, 0.8 inches, so almost an inch hail at that point too. So Muskegon, Ottawa County area where you're seeing those storms roll in, also producing hail and some damaging winds. It doesn't look like there's any rotation in that line.
That should be headed to Ferry around 6:52, Dayton Center around 6:59. It's for those storms that Sarah was just mentioning. In Oceana County, arrival time into Huber around 6:54, and Colfax close to 7.
So let's do another quick reset now that we're past 6:30. We are obviously overriding nightly news for what has been ongoing. We have several tornado warnings in effect that remain in effect. If you're in Kalamazoo County, the threat has essentially moved east of you, at least for now. Don't let your guard down, but the tornadic storm that prompted that warning has since moved out. We have tornado warnings that remain in effect for eastern Branch County, all of Calhoun County, and then it still remains in effect for eastern Kalamazoo, but the threat has really shifted east of there. Now what we're focused on are two main areas of rotation and possible tornadoes. One that is to the northeast of Tekonsha moving toward Homer, and another area of rotation that is trying to pick up heading toward the core of Battle Creek.
Oh, seeing some damage coming in from the Portage area. Looks like a building knocked down, or at least damaged. I'm going to get this to our news department just to double check, but right next to the Great Wall Chinese food place on Oakland and Center. So we are starting to see the confirmed damage reports coming in. And of course, sometimes damage is dependent on the structural integrity of each building. So our damage assessments are going to be a little spotty at first, but we will be sending our reporters on scene to verify. But what this shows us again is that these storms mean business, and they're not done yet. I think that the advice for Calhoun County to continue to take cover is good. I think Hillsdale, you also need to start worrying about some of these storms. Maybe not worrying, but preparing. That's a better word. You need to start preparing for these storms that have been passing through Jamestown in northern Indiana and Coldwater. Hillsdale, these will be headed close by you. You're being split basically by 2 tornado warnings.
We're just getting a new picture of damage from Portage. As soon as we can get that on the air, that would be preferable. We have looks like a picture of what looks to be potentially significant damage in Portage. So to the folks in the booth, as soon as we can get that on the air, that would be preferable. So we have 2 main areas of rotation. As mentioned, we have this storm that continues to show rotation. No immediate sign of a tornado on the ground, but that's tracking right over Battle Creek. So anyone in Battle Creek wants you to take shelter just to be safe. And then we have what looks to be a little more defined rotation from what was earlier a large and extremely dangerous tornado that is moving into Homer. If you're in Homer, you should continue to shelter if you're not there already. And it looks like they have... So we have the tornado warning continuing until 7:15 for Calhoun County, severe thunderstorm, capable of producing a tornado near Battle Creek, moving northeast at 30. And then we have that second severe thunderstorm. They both had a history of producing damaging tornadoes. Both of these areas that you see circled have a history of producing damage. And so that is why we're taking these storms incredibly seriously. Both are moving about northeast at 30 miles per hour. The one near Battle Creek moving more due east.
And it looks like we are getting some of these damage pictures into our newsroom, so hopefully we can effort these, hand these over to Brian and Sue here soon so that they can walk us through the exact location. So producers in the booth, we'll let you kind of compile those, make sure you're getting the correct permissions, making sure that it's a verifiable damage from this system and from these storms. Just sending you another one of a potential view of the tornado. Thank you to those folks who are sending us damage pictures along with the time and the location, but please be safe in doing so. We want to make sure that you are staying safe before and after every storm. Power lines are no joke. You just have to watch for things like gas leaks. And because we actually have confirmed damage from this storm that rolled through Portage.
Oh, goodness. Hey, if we can get those pictures up, we just got some brand new pictures in. Thank you to Katie from our web staff. Guys, if we can get those on the air as soon as possible, we need to show those, the damage that has occurred in Portage. So as soon as you guys are ready, let us know and we'll hand it over to Brian and Sue. But we're starting to get pictures of substantial damage in the city of Portage from the tornado that rolled through here within the last hour or so.
Wonderful, thank you. Takes a team here. And again, we always want to make sure that these pictures are verified too. Things move fast, but we never want to spread misinformation. That's why we have our whole team here at Wood TV 8 working together, looking at these checks and balances, and we're not just showing you every picture that's popped into our inbox. So trying to be responsible about what we're seeing, how we're delivering it to you, and also just bottom line, want to keep you safe. It does look like the cell over Battle Creek, which was once a tornado-warned storm, is starting to weaken. Here is a view of the damage that we were talking about. This is in the Portage area on Oakland Drive. So you can see not only the debris, but the fact that the storm has gone. So we almost have what is a sunny view. Definitely building damage here. Looks like the roof is removed on one building, but still intact for the Great Wall Chinese restaurant next door. This is a great indication of how winds can impact structures differently. We've got a tree that's in great shape right in front of this damage picture. So again, when it comes to tornado damage, it's very hit or miss. And that means you need to take a lot of caution when you're heading out. Thank you for this picture. It's a great indication of what these storms can do. And I'm so glad that we were on the air warning as this rolled through.
Yeah. We're getting some more pictures too, and I know you guys are swamped, but some even more remarkable pictures in the city of Portage, which are unfortunate to see. We have no word yet of any injuries, and of course we'll defer to our news department for that. But we do continue to get damage reports. At this time, and again, once you guys are ready to kind of take that over and report on what you've seen, please let us know. But at this time, what we're continuing to track is a tornado warning in effect for Calhoun County, and a tornado warning, several tornado warnings that remain in effect for Eastern Branch County. The two areas that we do continue to watch pretty closely. One just passing north of Homer, this core area of rotation right here, and then we have some broad rotation near Battle Creek, which thankfully, as Ellen mentioned, has continued to weaken. Now, we're not saying you're out of the woods yet. You should continue to shelter in place, but at this time, we're not seeing any indication that there is a tornado in progress, which of course is great news.
Yeah, and the line of storms, I don't want to discount those further north. They're not warned. They are subsevere. Even the radar samplings towards Muskegon, Robinson, Holland, that's good. So it truly is just the tornado warnings in effect for our southern counties there that we're closely
That's a good
watching.
point, Sarah. If you're in Ottawa County, Allegan County, you're going to start seeing some heavy rain here within the next hour or so. At this time, nothing that would indicate those storms are capable of producing any sort of tornadoes at this time. And if that changes, of course, we'll be the first to let you know.
Yeah, the strongest storm, I think, is the one moving towards Hillsdale at this point. That is coming out of northern Indiana, almost pretty much out of our area at this time. It has a decent look on radar as far as that velocity or that storm movement that we're tracking. But keep in mind, it's kind of in between radar sites, so the scan isn't going to be great. So if you're, again, towards Hillsdale, Pittsford, and headed towards the central portion of the state or know someone in that direction, I'd say that's the strongest rotation that we're seeing right now. It is confirmed. It could have lifted a bit, but something to keep a close eye on as well.
Oh, hey, we just got a picture from our folks at the Michigan Storm Chasers of very significant damage at the FedEx facility.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I'm gonna send that on to our news department, but that is potentially substantial structural damage that has occurred in Portage, and I think in a few minutes here we'll probably do a reset just to explain to you what all has happened. Here's a look at South Haven. Saw the severe thunderstorms roll through earlier. Now the sun's back out. It's like nothing ever happened.
Fast moving. I mean, my goodness. This is one of those reasons why it's important for us to just be watching frame by frame. Speaking of which, just looking at radar imagery again, this cell that's rolling on the north side of Homer could be producing a tornado on the ground. Decent couplet there, headed towards Condit, Babcock, right on the south side of Albion. Sounds like we have video from Portage at this
yeah.
time.
Yeah, so what
Watching
you're
along
seeing
with
is a lot of trees on the ground. That's a lot of the reports that were coming in right now. We have photos of building damage, roofs blown off, in addition to those trees on the ground. Power outages coming in as well.
And you can see how the debris is being thrown, and some of the trees are falling in different directions. So at first glance, more indicative of potentially tornado damage versus straight line winds. Not surprising with the radar signature, but I'm sure as survey crews head out onto the scene, they'll be able to see exactly the path of the tornadoes that cut across Portage. Thank you for that, guys.
Yeah.
We're also getting some pictures of maybe even the tornado itself. We're going to verify those before we show them to you on air. Now remember, we had a few tornado warned cells that we were tracking. The one that cut across Portage and Kalamazoo, and then the one that rolled through Union City. Right now, seeing an improvement, but we still have some of those cells that are popping just to the west of Allegan County. I want to pop in reflectivity here. Not seeing any strong development, which is what we'd like to see. Folks in Holland, Grand Rapids, this would actually be the first storms for you.
They look like they just renewed that severe thunderstorm warning for Muskegon and Oceana. Runs until 7:15. Main threat now is 60-mile-per-hour winds with that storm as it continues to track almost due east, it looks like.
Do they have a speed?
Northeast at 40 miles per hour, excuse me.
Okay. So, potentially damaging winds if we take graphics 1 here for Holton, 647, Sitka, 651, Dayton Center, 655, Fremont, 658, Newaygo, 709, White Cloud, 712, and Big Prairie close to about 722. Again, that is for a severe thunderstorm warning that was just issued. This is for Muskegon County, stretching up into Oceana, for the potential of 60-mile-per-hour winds.
Ellen, if you don't mind, there's a new storm forming almost just to the west of Decatur that is actually picking up a little bit of steam. Here it is in southern Van Buren County. And if we look at this, I mean, we've been tracking the census been in Berrien County, but it's maintaining its strength. And what I'm interested in is a little bit of rotation that's starting to be detected just south of Decatur. Now, important to note, there's no warnings on this at this time, but this is the area that I think might be worth watching here over the next 10 to 15 minutes or so. We're seeing this thing is by itself, it's discrete. And Ellen, it looks like we might be seeing something start to pick up here.
Not to mention, this would be headed towards the same folks that just experienced the tornado warning. We're talking Wanton, Mattawan, Texas Corners, Portage, Galesburg, Augusta. No surprise that it would be headed in the same spots because the winds aloft have not changed, the steering winds taking these storms in the same spots. But as we mentioned before, sometimes the severe threat will just drop off once a storm fires and moves to the east, but today is different. And the reason why today is different is because these storms have so much support at the upper levels that they don't necessarily need sunshine in order to get that big punch, in order to get that big support aloft. So unfortunately, on days like today, we really have to watch until the end of the tornado watch, which is 9 p.m., to see each individual cell and how it's going to behave in this environment. And you can see some cells that behave just fine. Hastings, welcome rain. Hastings, even just a couple of flashes of lightning, but not much more than that. Just to do a reset, go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. We're just hearing from an injury from a train spotter in Kalamazoo. A woman looks to be potentially hit by debris in Portage with a leg injury. So that's the first possible injury we're hearing from this. Just getting word from that from the National Weather Service just northeast of Portage as that tornado was rolling through. We're still waiting.
As you were saying, Kalamazoo now out of the warnings, but if that storm were to strengthen, again, you may be back in a warning. So it may not be the best idea to run those errands or get outside right now.
No,
I would continue to shelter in place, at least for the time being, until that.
And there's going to be that urge to get out and look at the damage in the Portage area. We're seeing some pretty substantial reports of structural damage there. Still waiting on confirmation on some of those. don't go out. It's a mess. Wires down, trees down.
Speaking of
Emergency
that-
responders need to get to some of those folks.
Yes, absolutely. You don't want to get in the way. We do have a few pictures from folks that live by that area. We're going to turn it over to Brian and Sue. They've been monitoring some of these storm damage pictures that have been coming into the newsroom. Can you walk us through what folks are seeing?
Yes, we are continuing to follow some of the damages that has rolled through the area. You're looking at some pictures right now where you can see that buildings have been severely damaged by some of these storms.
We're being told that this is in Portage at the area of Oakland and Center. And you can see damage is significant. And again, two different communities in our southern tier here dealing with what appears to be a direct hit from tornadoes tonight. St. Joseph County Dispatch confirming a tornado touchdown in Centerville. We're getting reports of 4 inches in diameter hail. A tornado also touching down in Portage. Consumers Energy reporting tonight 21,000 people without power.
That's right. And that number continuing to be updated. It has now been updated to 25,000, just getting word from our producer on that. Here's another other images brought to you by a driver. You can see that the trees are flattened in this area in Portage. And so you can see this driver slowly going by as the storm has moved through. We continue to just follow these images that are coming in now because listening to Storm Team 8, we were able to get a track on this and know when the severity of this was hitting the Portage area as well as Centerville. And it seems to be going through West Michigan at this point. Some of the rotation now in the clouds, as the Storm Team 8 has mentioned, but still the potential of it touching down. So it's important to stay and take cover in the areas that they've been noting. Again, take a look at this damage that has happened in the Portage area. These buildings absolutely decimated by this tornado that's touched down, and we continue to follow other severe storms that are going through West Michigan at this time.
As you see, the damage here is significant. We're talking about collapsed buildings, roofs ripped off of these structures, the walls exposed, debris everywhere. In fact, our meteorologists seeing some pretty well-formed debris clouds as these storms rolled through. We do have 2 news crews working the region down there tonight. We are awaiting to hear from them as well as they're providing some more of these images and information coming in tonight.
Again, 25,000 without power at this time. We will continue to monitor the numbers. We'll bring you the very latest and show you the pictures that continue to come into the newsroom just as soon as we get them. Back to you guys.
Brian, Sue. We're watching a few areas. We're just getting a report now from emergency management that the Oaklawn Hospital in Marshall looking toward Marengo, although now that I look at that report, I'm not sure if there's potential for still some rotation with that storm that's just moving past Albion over into Jackson County, which is not a surprise considering it dropped a tornado. But we are also continuing to watch not only the tornado warning that remains in effect for Calhoun County. Let me zoom out a little bit here. We have a tornado warning that does remain in effect for Calhoun County. If we look at areas of potential rotation, one area that I'm a little stuck on, Ellen, maybe you can help with this, is right near Union City again. It's hard to tell if this is legit or not, but radar is trying to indicate that there might be more rotation there.
Near Decatur.
Yeah.
It could be a quick spin up for sure. It's not nearly as strong as the other rotations that we initially saw. Even in Calhoun County a bit too. We'll have to keep an eye out.
I don't like the look of this storm in
They're
Van
right
Buren
along the
County.
warm
No,
front, too.
I don't either.
Yeah.
This one that's lifting into Pawpaw, Lawton,
Oh,
headed
boy.
right towards Kalamazoo. Here's the thing, too. Emergency crews are already out on scene for the Portage tornado situation. Just hearing from friends saying that the entire area is roped off. They're staying away. They're giving crews the space to work, but it's a mess. And we are starting to see rotation just on the east side of Decatur. This is south of Lawton. Decent lightning with this cell, indicating that it potentially has strength once more. Shear rate is still not overly impressive, but we're beginning to see the very start of definition. And what's more, this cell is alone. Oftentimes when cells are standing alone, they're given room to form and to grow and to gain circulation down to the surface. So Pawpaw, Kalamazoo, Lawton, watching this one closely, headed towards Almena, Oshtemo, and Parchment. Arrival time for Pawpaw 6:56, Metawan 7:04, Oshtemo 7:14,
Graphics 1.
and Portage 7:21. Looking at the arrival times here on Graphics 1, you can see the circle. Also switching gears, this looks like pictures of
Can you
the
tell us where
tornado
this is?
from
I think that was
St. Joseph County, Union City.
Leonidas.
Oh,
Township?
Leonidas?
Leonidas. Yeah, I believe that's the one.
Look at the hailstone there, Blake.
Wow, apple size. Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Thank you to folks that have been sending these in, that have been signing the permission form for us so that we can get permission to show these on air. And this is a good indication that it's not just a tornado that we've been watching. It's not just one system. It's several threats. Winds to 60 miles per hour in the Muskegon area. We've been seeing large hail. In fact, softball-sized hail reported earlier
Yeah, Union City.
in Union City.
And as Ellen mentioned, you can always send photos to weather@woodtv.com. But again, as far as Kalamazoo County going out and taking photos of the damage right now, it's risky because we're watching that discrete cell just off to the west, which still does have a little bit of rotation with it. It looks weaker on that latest scan, Blake, if you see
Yeah,
it.
just heard from Weather Service said they're not seeing enough low-level rotation, which of course is good news. We don't want to see enough low-level rotation. That storm does continue to bear close watching as it is now about to track into the same areas that just received the storm. But the other thing to keep in mind too is that the atmosphere has been worked over at least to a degree by those earlier storms. That's not to say we can't see storms again, but the likelihood of them being as intense as the first round is low. Not zero, but low.
Not seeing any hail with that storm either, which is good news. We can kind of look at our hail swath, and it seems like most of those were with that tornado-warned storm. But still, I could see it, gaining a little bit of strength. All of these storms are firing up right along our warm front, so they're going to hold on to that momentum for at least the time being. Again, that tornado watch staying in effect till 9 o'clock, so we still have about 2 hours to go, where there is the potential we see more storms fire up and be able to produce this damage.
So we have two areas where tornado warnings remain in effect. The first is all of Calhoun County. The warning remains in effect, although at this point there are no imminent signs of a tornado on the ground, which is great news. Of course, continue to shelter in place. As we've already seen, we've had damaging tornadoes roll through already. Meanwhile, we have a tornado warning that remains in effect for southeastern Branch County, but that storm has already moved off into your east toward Hillsdale. We also continue to track developing potential supercell in Van Buren County, a potential storm, a line of non-severe showers and thunderstorms rolling through Ottawa County, non-severe thunderstorms in parts of Barrie, Eden, and Ionia, and then a severe thunderstorm warning that should be expiring shortly for Muskegon and Oceana for winds up to 60 miles per hour. So radar does remain active. If you're in Calhoun County, the sirens continue to sound. Tornado warning in effect for another 20 minutes, and given the history of this storm, they'll likely hold on to it at least for a bit longer. But thankfully, at this time, no pressing signs of a tornado in progress, which is what we want to see.
Exactly. That's 100% what we'd like to see. We are getting more and more pictures, even video coming into the newsroom of the tornado that passed through Portage, as well as the one that passed through St. Joseph County. And I do think that we have this nice lull, as Blake just mentioned. So some of these standalone cells that we might have to monitor are not only the one that's tracking just on the east side of Decatur, that one that's highlighted in Pawpaw, but if we look at this one in North Muskegon, headed towards Fremont.
Switch over to graphics.
This one also has the potential to produce some damage, 60-mile-per-hour winds, potentially some large hail. We do have a reporter on the scene. We want to get back over to Brian Sterling, Sue Shaw. Brian, Sue, who do you have with us?
Boy, continuing to monitor what's going on throughout the atmosphere. We appreciate all that you guys have been telling us. We do have Taylor Morris, who is standing by on the phone. She has arrived in the area. Taylor, what are you seeing?
Hey, Stu, Brian. Yeah, so we're on US 131 right now. We just left the Portage area. Not too much damage where we're at right now, but we did see a lot of big, thick tree trunks down along the highway there. That's about the only thing we've seen so far. Is we just drove through Schoolcraft and we're still heading south, but it does seem to be, the power seems to be on in the area that we are right now. We're passing the McDonald's near Schoolcraft and the BP gas station. And the damage in this area doesn't seem to be too bad yet. Like I said, the only thing we've really seen so far are just lots and lots of trees near Portage that were along the highway and down in that area. And the traffic isn't too bad either. We've noticed so far as well, which is good, but we're still heading south.
So not a lot of people out on the roads at this point. As far as damage is concerned, it's primarily just trees down is what you're seeing in the location that you're at right now.
Yeah, yep. Where we're at right now, we are on the corner of Lyon and Grand. And like you said, and like I said earlier, there's not too many people on the roads, which is good. They seem to have polish still in this area, but the biggest thing we've seen near the Portage area is a lot of trees that were uprooted and down. So
we will continue to monitor what's happening there. Taylor, thanks for checking in. We'll continue to talk with you as you arrive in different locations around Portage. We are seeing the video and the images coming in from various viewers that are showing extreme damage to some of the buildings down there.
Just telltale signs from the naked eye in some of those pictures, just the way the trees are down.
Yeah.
You can tell that something with rotation went through there.
The last numbers that we know of that came in, 25,000 without power and some buildings seeing severe damage there. We will continue to check in with Taylor as well as other crews that we have in the area to gain more information.
Thank you, Brian. Sue. Let's take it back to graphics 2 if we can. A little concerned because as these potential rescue operations are ongoing, we have graphics 2 if we can, please. We have a new thunderstorm that is developing and moving toward the area that has just seen a tornado. If we can take graphics 2, please. Thank you. This storm has lightning with it too, which makes it even more dangerous. And if we loop here over the last 15 minutes, this storm is tracking essentially toward Portage. And this storm continues to show some signs of rotation, not enough to prompt a warning at this point. But as likely recovery and rescue operations are ongoing in the city of Portage and among this tornado damaged path, we're now seeing a new thunderstorm that's developing, a dangerous thunderstorm with lightning that is tracking almost the exact same path that the previous one just took. And so that is what concerns me the most here over the next half hour, is that we have lightning and a strong thunderstorm that is progressing toward the city of Portage. And that's a good reminder for our crews as well that are down in the Portage area or heading down there. Additional thunderstorm is on the way.
Temperatures in that area is still close to 70 degrees with a decent amount of humidity. Our parent wind is still coming in out of the southwest, and our surface wind is still coming in at the southeast in some portions. So what's nice about this setup is we're not seeing as much of the directional wind change with height, but we're still seeing a lot of speed change, and that's enough to create some pretty intense storms. Something else I just want to show you. Look at South Haven briefly. My gosh, sun out.
Always.
Storms in the distance.
After storms. Always
After
that
the
happens.
storms, right. And this once again
Hey.
shows us that the atmosphere can recover and produce more.
If we can get, I think we need to start treating this Lawton storm as if it may be getting closer to producing some sort of either strong rotation or potential tornado. I mean, this has not only a classic supercellular look to it, but we're tracking rotation has picked up pretty significantly just to the south of Lawton. We do not have a warning on this at this time, but what frightens me the most is that this is almost the exact same path that the previous storm just took.
This really is. It's headed towards Matawan, Oshawa, Portage, Kalamazoo, right over the intersection of I-94 and 131. So this is the storm path. Here is a look at the rotation mode. So the shear tracks, it shows us where the rotation might be picked up by the radar as being most significant. If we switch to base velocity, it's a little muddier in this current view, but shear rate helps to show us the story. So this would be some increased intensity and rotation on the south side of Lawton, moving over towards 26th Street, tracking towards 23rd. And this originated in Decatur. This would be moving over County Road 652, headed just on the south side of Matawan, and once again crossing over I-94, this time headed on the north side of Portage instead of the south side of Portage. Again, not a tornado warning, not even a severe thunderstorm with it at this point, but we are tracking quite closely, scan by scan and second by second. If we just take it back the last 15 minutes.
Little update with hail too.
Yeah. You can see we're starting to get this classic V shape a bit more. It's one of the first signs that we look for. We also start to look for some notching right around here.
Weather Service says they're noticing the same thing. No warning yet, but an uptick in rotation here in Van Buren County. Awaiting a new scan on this. At this time, this is where we have potential, or there is rotation there, just a matter of how strong it is. The core of it looks to be just to the southeast of Lawton, so moving again toward Texas Corners and Portage. No warnings on it at this time, but again, I've said it several times, but there's recovery, substantial cleanup that is likely just beginning in the Portage area. And now we have a second storm to worry about that is tracking its way in that direction. No warnings at this time, but I think that this is now should be likely our focus here over the next several minutes. We do still have a tornado warning in effect for Calhoun County. No major signs of concerning rotation at this time. No, not at this time. Sorry, just trying to catch my bearings.
Yeah,
It's been a
yeah,
little
it's
bit
a
of
lot.
a...
Yeah, there's nothing confirmed on the ground. I mean, they
Yeah.
downgraded that one ever so slightly. It still could potentially.
Still some rotation trying to show up north of Tekonsha, but at this time, there isn't any velocity to suggest that, or any wind speed concern to suggest that. Tornado warning does continue for Calhoun County. Severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado near Burlington. So this is the area that they're continuing to watch and keep the tornado warning for. I imagine some parts of Calhoun County are about to be trimmed out of that. This is radar, not even radar indicated. This is a potential tornadic situation. So we no longer have the confirmed tornado on the ground. And it's likely for this storm right in here.
Oh gosh, hey,
Yeah.
just looking again.
It's stronger again. It tends
Yeah.
to keep going back and forth with each scan that we get, but that rotation tracker and the hail tracker have both picked up within the last couple of scans, indicating at bare minimum there's probably hail coming along with this.
Or some
and
strong
winds.
strong winds flowing in.
Do we have a speed?
No, not yet. This
Here,
Let me,
35 when I last did it. It was
35?
35 when I last did it, unless it's picked up.
Okay. So if we're tracking 35, a lot of lightning starting to spark. Again, that's a sign that this storm is continuing to strengthen. Just make sure that I'm accurately, yep, 35. Texas Corners, right around 712 or so.
Sounds right.
Yep.
Which is coming up in 8 minutes for the record. So if you're watching us, this is the time to head to that safe space just to be sure. It's the lowest level of your home. Again, just
And
to be on the
Portage,
safe side.
yes, 722.
And you may be asking, why are you talking about this when we don't have any warnings on it? We're just using the tools that we have, and it is indicating that although it doesn't appear to be any immediate tornado threat, the storm is rotating, and given what we've seen over the last few hours, the environment is clearly conducive to produce tornadoes, and so we have to treat every storm with even the potential to rotate seriously.
And this is, I mean, just zoomed in on the track, and I highlighted where we've seen a damage report already, Oakland Drive and Center. The track really does take it almost directly over the same spots. A lot of emergency crews, especially at the FedEx building over the airports. Possible FedEx building collapse. I'm hearing from friends and family that are on site. Again, we are going to continue to work to verify everything that we're hearing. We never want to spread rumors, but the pictures that we're seeing of the FedEx building absolutely confirms.
A new severe thunderstorm, yeah.
Is it for that cell in Van Buren into Kalamazoo?
That's for Kalamazoo and Van Buren. You're correct. Yep. So what we just got in is a new severe thunderstorm warning, so not a tornado warning. You'll notice that popping up there. That is for that cell that we've been tracking for just barely Van Buren County as well as southern Kalamazoo County. So that's a positive indication that they're not confident that rotation is low level enough to potentially produce a tornado. But based on what we're seeing as far as hail and damaging wind gusts, absolutely that is a strong cell tracking that direction. So I keep getting all of these photos from Portage and Kalamazoo County, which is great to know. But again, when you have a severe thunderstorm coming in, you need to be back in a shelter at this point. Damaging winds oftentimes cause similar damage to tornadoes on the ground and should not be counted out with this cell. cell. So get to that safe space. Again, hunker down. It's moving at about 35 miles per hour and is continuing to track east-northeast, a little bit more of an easterly trend than initially some of the cells we saw tonight. So that's a severe thunderstorm warning. That is in effect until, let's take a look. It's up to 40 miles per hour moving if you're drawing a track, Ellen. That stays in effect until 8 o'clock tonight. It's tagged for 1-inch hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. And we've seen more than 1-inch hail tonight. So be prepared. That could easily get upgraded as well.
This is headed right for Texas Corners. And what we're watching for with this, even though it's not tagged for a tornado yet, is to see if there is a little bowing in the line back here indicating inflow. As we mentioned earlier, some of the surface wind is no longer coming in from the southeast. Earlier this evening, the surface wind was coming in from this direction, and then the wind aloft was coming from this direction, which easily helped to induce a little bit more of that tornadic circulation. So the fact that the wind is playing a little bit better at the surface coming in at this direction means that we're more likely to see wind damage out of this cell, but a tornado cannot be ruled out. And I'm sorry, Sarah, you said speed?
40.
40. Let's track this into Texas Corners. 713 on the south side. Angling Road Drive, sound familiar? Right near 131, that's 716. Headed into Portage around 720. Here's what's concerning to me, the fact that we have so many folks that are probably outside looking at the trees in their yard, looking at some of the damage in the Portage region. Definitely pay attention. This is a fresh severe thunderstorm warning.